What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new StarCraft 3 video, so let's get into it. So guys, today we're going to be talking about would StarCraft 3 split the player base even more than it's split already? So let's talk about it. So guys, I got a comment on Reddit that says, if it ain't broke, seriously though, StarCraft 1 and 2 are both great as they are, and I would rather Blizzard just focus on balancing and maintaining a good player base. StarCraft 3 would just decrease the player base of the first two instead of introducing new players. The reason this game isn't as popular as it should be is because it is number one, mainly single player, and number two, too complicated for the average gamer. These are factors that make StarCraft what it is, and a new installment won't help. What could a new StarCraft game even offer? StarCraft 2 already has great graphics, gameplay, and design. The relatively low player base is purely because most people prefer easy and accessible team-based games. Just my thoughts. So guys, I definitely respect this comment for a number of reasons, and I think that this person did bring up some good points for sure. So mainly single player, so it definitely is mainly a single player game. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, you can play the team-based game modes, and I think that would be something that would really help in a StarCraft 3, which would be kind of incorporating making it team-based, which is what he was alluding to later on in this post, where people want to watch the team-based games, and that's what I think StarCraft needs to do. So StarCraft 3, moving into StarCraft 3, I've said in the past that they should do a team-based esports side, which I think which would make a lot more people gravitate to that, and not completely get rid of the 1v1 aspect because it's very unique to the real-time strategy genre, but I will say that adding team-based I think would be a very smart ordeal. So you could definitely add team-based game modes, but also team-based esports to StarCraft 3. Number two is also very true, too complicated for the average gamer. That's very true. It's a very complicated game for the average gamer. As far as StarCraft is easy to play, but it's very difficult to master. It's kind of one of those games, and that's why I think there is a steep, learning curve to it. But I think that there's a learning curve to really any other, game that's out there that would be, similar to StarCraft as far as the strategy goes. I know MOBAs like Dota 2 and League of Legends, those are two games that, those have steep learning curves as well. So I just feel that kind of going back to that first point, I think if you added more team-based game modes to StarCraft 3, you kind of make that part of the WCS Pro circuit. I really think that would help get those people who felt uncomfortable about playing the game because it's too complicated. They would kind of gravitate to playing more team-based game modes, kind of be able to learn the game a little bit better and kind of go from there. So I think that those would be a couple of things that I think would help StarCraft 3 and kind of StarCraft in the future, because I just think at this point in StarCraft 2, we're 9 years into StarCraft 2, why would they change things up to make it more team-based, or change things up at this point? Why don't you just start, have a fresh start with StarCraft 3, and then we go from there, as far as from a campaign perspective, all the way to a multiplayer perspective, making it more so kind of introduce the game as a team-based game, but you have the 1v1 aspect to it as well as a game mode. And so that last question is, what could a new StarCraft game even offer? Well, I think it could actually offer a lot. I mean, it could offer, obviously, as we've already said, it could offer new game modes. It could offer a team-based game modes over that of, single player, but you continue to keep the single player as it is, but just add the team-based aspect to the esports scene and kind of make that like the focal point of StarCraft 3. You could add a new race. You could, of course, continue the story of StarCraft 2 from StarCraft 2, or you can completely go in a new direction. You could, of course, add new units. You could add, as I said, new races. I mean, these are things that could continue to build the lore and build the story and the franchise that is StarCraft. And I think that there's, I think that a lot of people in the StarCraft community are just becoming a little bit too complacent with, it's fine, StarCraft 2 has great graphics, it's got great gameplay, it's also also got great design. I agree with those things 100%, but I just think that we need to have that continuation. It's like being complacent with any other series, right? I mean, you know, we could easily just say, oh, we don't need any more, you know, Call of Duty games. Well, we get one every single year, so it kind of freshens things up every single year. After a while, the StarCraft 2, the player count is going to kind of drop over time, and it just is kind of, as more and more games come out, newer games come out, those player bases are going to slowly but surely kind of dwindle. So I think that a new StarCraft would help freshen things up. It would continue the story of StarCraft, and it would build upon the franchise that they've really started, and that has such a strong reputation in the community. Even though StarCraft 2 has gone through a lot of problems in the past, I feel that this is still an extremely strong community. So I guess getting to the main question in this video is, would StarCraft 3 split the player base even more than it already has between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2? Well, here's the thing, guys. I think that the best solution to this would be, okay, a StarCraft 3 comes out, and I believe if StarCraft 3 comes out, Blizzard announces that the WCS Pro Circuit and everything esports related is going to be directly geared towards StarCraft 3. They're going to stop the support on StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 from an esports perspective, which would make all of those players, of course, from, you know, the WCS Pro Circuit, you know, just the esports side, they would all be playing StarCraft 3, and then StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 would just be casual players, but a lot of those casual players would also possibly move into StarCraft 3 because, number one, it's a new game, number two, if they start watching the esports scene, they're going to want to watch their favorite players, and StarCraft 3 is that thing. So I think it really is actually a simple solution to, look, StarCraft 3 is now the game that all of the pro players are going to play. We're no longer supporting tournaments based on StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2. It's all going to be StarCraft 3. And then, you know, the casual players, if they don't like StarCraft 3, they can of course go back to StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 1. But StarCraft 3 is the main game that's being supported. I think that would help not splitting up the player base. Because no matter any way that you look at it, you could look at a game like Call of Duty where there's a new Call of Duty every single year. You could say each Call of Duty coming out is going to split up the player base, but really, it all comes down to how good the game is. If the game is really good, people are going to be playing it. If it's not as good or up to expectations, people will go back to some of the older games, and it just happens with any series. But I think that we need to take that step, that leap of faith that StarCraft 3 is going to deliver, because it's been so long. It's, you know, it's been 9 years now. It's going on a decade of StarCraft 2. I just think that we need a StarCraft 3, and we need to echo it into existence and be the ones telling Blizzard that we want this game made, and just tell them what we want as far as players, as fans of the franchise. We want this game to kind of unify everyone, kind of be a fresh start, kind of add, you know, new ideas, but also stay with the same core elements that make StarCraft as a real-time strategy game of our time. And that said, you know, also adding, you know, like a StarCraft mobile game, or adding like a StarCraft first-person shooter game, adding, you know, more StarCraft novels, whatever the case may be, adding more to the franchise and to the series. I just think a lot of people in the StarCraft community are concerned about moving onward from StarCraft 2, as in it might not be as good as, say, StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2. That's why people are just hesitant to moving on to the next thing. I just think what we need to as a community is move on to that next stage. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about this? Would StarCraft 3 continue splitting the player base, or would my idea of kind of trying to unify everyone onto one game, do you think that would work? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.